I became quite depressed in some ways, very unhappy, and just not satisfied at all. And I was deteriorating, and it all just got to a head. I started to get sick of the inconsistencies and the hypocrisy that I felt that I was being bombarded with, the double standards and all these kind of things. And by double standards, I mean applying a principle to one thing, but not to other areas, according to what was convenient for people and what suited them. So I got very frustrated with this, and eventually I sat down with the preachers at the church there. There were 5 of them. We were all together in a room, and I discussed some of these concerns. And at the time, they also weren't really that interested in what I had to say. I didn't necessarily put my case across in the most loving or the best possible manner. I mean, like I say, I was pretty frustrated. I was starting to get pretty down about things, and I was still young and very spiritually immature as well. So anyway, I ended up leaving the church there, and after that, that was very, very frightening for me. It was a very difficult time, because again, I felt like, what happens to me now? Where do I go now? I had really no idea what to do, and I started a new job. I had a courier run. I was a contractor to a courier company, and I actually through the course of that courier run, I met a guy who was a kind of a natural healer. He had a battle with cancer. He was given 6 months to live, and it was about 10 years later, and he said he was in the best health of his life. And he had all these courses and books and all these kind of things, DVDs and all this sort of stuff that he would share with me. And every time I we struck up quite a good friendship, and I'd be going past there to pick up his products that he was sending out to his clients, and so I would see him quite often, and every now and then he would invite me out to his place, and we would have, him and his wife and I would have dinner together and a few drinks and talk about spiritual things. And so we struck up quite a friendship. And a lot of these kind of ideas I dabbled with a little bit before I first started getting involved with church again. But there were a lot of things in there that I wasn't familiar with. He showed me the DVD The Secret, which that was a completely new concept for me at the time, just completely new, and for me at the time it was very revelatory and very mind-boggling. And I started to buy some of this material myself, things like what the bleep do we know. I bought the book Conversations with God, and just a whole bunch of this kind of stuff that I started getting very interested into, and I kind of felt like, wow, I finally found the answer, and I'm really starting to understand how the universe works, and starting to get some clarification on all of these questions that I've had. So I was very enthusiastic about this, and while I was driving around in my courier van, I would have my iPod going with all of these Wayne Dyer and the audiobook of The Secret, and all of these kind of things would be going all the time while I was driving around for 12 hours a day in the courier van. So again, I was very enthusiastic, very eager to learn, and I also got involved in a multi-level marketing business, so I was listening to a lot of material from them all the time as well. And so I was convinced that with knowing The Secret now and this multi-level marketing business, it was only going to be a matter of a few months and I was going to be a millionaire and all these kind of things. Well, surprise, surprise, it didn't happen. In fact, nothing happened. All that happened was that I got myself in a horrendous amount of debt, um, buying all these programs and things on my credit card. I was spending all my money on these kind of things, and all this healthy food that I had to buy, and all this kind of stuff. And it ended up that I didn't have enough money left at the end of each month to pay tax on my courier business. And I didn't worry about it because I knew that I was going to attract all this money and all this wealth, and so it didn't matter. So I'd have money to pay it soon. So I'll just focus on buying more of these programs and more of these vitamin and mineral supplements, so that I'll be at my best, so that I can attract all this stuff, and so forth and so on. And on it went. And I had this courier business for about 18 months. And finally it got to the point where I just couldn't afford to keep running it anymore. So in March of 2008, I went to Australia, and I was hoping that I could go to Australia, get a good paying job there, and start to pay off all these debts that I'd accumulated. I had about $20,000 worth of debts that I'd left behind in New Zealand that I was going to try and pay back with this big job I was going to get in Australia, because at the time, there were so many jobs going in Australia, and almost everyone I knew was going over and getting jobs in the mines and all these kind of things and making all this money. So anyway, off I went to Australia. Well, I didn't go and get a high paying job, but I ended up traveling around all over Australia. And I think that was the point where I first started to get in touch with my own potential and my own abilities, and really start to truly think for myself a little bit. I was starting to really learn real life lessons myself. I mean, my friend who I was traveling with, there were times where one day I had to beg at the train station to get 50 cents to get a ride back home from work. I was 10 or 12 kilometers away from the city centre. I'd been out working on a landscaping job that I got, and it was the day before payday, and I completely run out of money. Spent my last few dollars getting the train out to work, and by the time I bought something for lunch, I'd miscalculated, and I was 50 cents short to get a train back into the city again. And just the whole time we were there, it was like that. I was constantly living on a shoestring and just surviving. But what it taught me a lot about faith, realizing that things do work out, and even though sometimes you can't see how they're going to work out, they do. And I think it was a very, very spiritual time for me being over there, and I came across a book. I think the title of it was "Is the Bible Really True?" or something like that. And basically that book addressed some of the contradictions in the Bible and looked at the real purpose of the Bible. And what that did for me was I began to realize that I could be free from the belief of heaven and hell, from believing that I had to abide strictly by the Bible, and that that was the overruling framework for everything. Because up till then, that's what I believed. I believed that if I died tomorrow, I would have been going to hell. I believed that I was supposed to be part of the church, but I just couldn't find the one true church of the Bible. And so that was a very a kind of a crippling, overhanging belief to have. And so that day, sitting in the library in Perth, I stumbled across this book and read through it, and that really started I think my journey towards real truth, the ability to walk in real truth, started with beginning to break free of that overarching framework, that crippling kind of overhanging belief system that was limiting me and essentially crushing me and creating a lot of conflict for me between the life that I wanted to live and then feeling like I had to live as a Christian and according to the Bible, but yet I couldn't because I couldn't find a church that didn't contradict the Bible.